Amy Chovanec. How are you?
Good, Gary. How are you?
Not bad. I tried the Illinois Chicago accent. Illinois? Maybe not fair.
Yeah,
So
Chicago's
thank
Illinois.
that's thank you so much for joining me. And
Yeah.
thank you for bringing me to your favorite bar. Where are we?
So we are at Fat Jack's in Bloomington, Illinois. So I worked at this bar, Fat Jack's, for 3 years when I was in college. So it's one of my favorite places in the world because I've met some of my favorite people who I'm still friends with to this day working here and had some of my best college memories here as well. So I figured I'd take a journey down memory lane, not to age myself, but I hadn't worked there, and I worked there about 15 years ago. So it's been a
Right.
while, but it still remains one of my favorite places, again, just because of the people I have and the memories I've had there. So
So did you enjoy your recent 30th birthday?
my recent 30th birthday. Yeah. I was pregnant for my 30th birthday. So
There you
so
go.
about yeah, yeah. So
I have to say, when we were looking at the photos of this place, it's one of those multi-character type of place. Like, we're obviously in the Jack Nicholson, green faced, wearing very groovy glasses. But
yeah.
if you look to your right, you've got a pool room. You look to your left, you've got other all. So were you designated Amy in the Jack Nicholson bar, or could you be anywhere?
Oh,
Or-
I'd be anywhere. So yeah, there's three bars inside the bar, right? So it was a main room, which is where we're at now, which is the Jack Nicholson room. And then there's the blue room, which was like this side bar. And those would only be open. The main bar was open every day. So I would be in the main bar if I worked a Tuesday or a Thursday. But then on the weekends, because it's a college town, so the other rooms would open, and you'd either be in the blue room or what we call room four, and they have each room had a different vibe, right? So you could see all the tappers in this main room. And it was a very laid back, let's grab a beer, let's, hang out and chat. And then you went into the blue room and it was more a lounge feel. And then room four, they would bring a DJ in and it would be a dance party. There's a catwalk. So while you're bartending, there's people dancing on a catwalk above you and all that stuff. So each room is a very, very different vibe and different feel, which was fun and why people wanted to go. So if you had friends that were chill, but you wanted to go dance for a little bit, you could go
yeah.
back in room four and go dance and then come back and hang out and chill with your friends. So
So
it's a good environment.
you were basically partying and getting paid for it.
Yeah, exactly right. That's exactly right.
I know.
Instead of
I know.
paying, I was getting paid. It was
It's
great.
just wonderful. And I'd say back in the day, if you had your Fitbit, you would have done about 30,000 steps a night,
Oh,
as
100%.
busy lounge staff and bar staff do. And
Yep.
we'll leave this wonderful bar by saying, you possibly, and I don't know what you were like before, I certainly know what you're like now, but isn't it a wonderful environment to to work in hospitality for a period of time?
Oh,
Just
100%.
isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just like the to understand patients and how people are and how people operate differently and when you might not know what's going on, like there might be a backup in the kitchen, there might be a backup, a keg might have exploded or something, I'm just using that example. You don't know what's happening behind the scenes of someone else's life. So definitely is a good life lesson to, be patient and understand and kind of gives you a different perspective of how to manage other people.
I often think that because we could be very bright academic people, who I often used to think I wish they'd work in a bar or a restaurant or somewhere, because they can develop their social intercourse skills. They can develop a bit more empathy. And also, judging books by their cover, often people come into a bar and they look like trouble and they're the nicest people in the world.
Yeah, exactly
And then
right.
you got the opposite. So it sounds like you got paid to get drunk, have a good time, and obviously at some stage you got through it and you got your degree or
Yeah,
whatever. Well done.
absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
so there's a Jack Nicholson, whatever he was, he got a cigar there. He puts his cigar into the router and it all goes bleh. Your phone gets wiped and you've only three apps. What are they?
So I three apps that I basically can't live without
Yeah.
is text messages, my FaceTime app, and I'm gonna say Pinterest. So I know I bet you didn't expect that one, but
I didn't expect Pinterest. No, because I was of the view it had sort of had its day, but obviously not.
yeah, well, I use it all. So I love to cook and I'm an avid DIYer, right? So I constantly look for inspiration on Pinterest. So like look for different recipes, I look for different projects that we could do around the house. My husband would probably want me to immediately remove Pinterest from my phone and not have it be one of the last three because I'll say, "Oh, I came up with this other idea because I got inspired on
Okay.
Pinterest." So yeah, it is certainly an inspiration platform for me. Get my
And
creative juice going.
and again, somebody who isn't too invested in either. Instagram is similar in terms
Yeah,
of information.
and that's the thing. I feel like there's a lot of other information that you get on Instagram as well. So even as you're looking like for certain stuff, there's other things that pop up where I feel like Pinterest is more like targeted, like where I'm currently working on a sourdough starter. So like I'm looking at different tips and tricks and I'm like, I can really narrow in what I'm looking for on
Yeah.
Pinterest where like you might not get it's whatever hashtag someone decides to use that you could search, so it's not as like narrowed down onto what you're specifically looking for, where I feel like I get more information at a faster rate when I'm looking. I don't have to do as much digging.
So, sourdough bread. I thought we all got that out of our system the first 3 months of COVID. I never want to see any more flour, any more bread, because Jesus, did you miss that?
Uh,
You,
you know,
you
I renovated my house during COVID, right? So we took a 2 bedroom, 1.5 bath brick Georgian and turned it into a 4 bedroom, 3.5 bath, like all during COVID. So we did a
as
lot
you
of work.
do, as you
Yeah,
do.
and I was pregnant with my second child during that time as well. So.
And you were doing it all off Pinterest with DIY tips.
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't need to hire a plumber. I just looked that up on Pinterest. So
Yeah, as you do, of course, of course. But it's
no, good idea.
extraordinary that, and one of the great things, isn't it? Really great things about having everything at your fingertips is that ignorance is now an option.
Right.
I mean, there was back in the day, to your point, you get a burst pipe. Oh, you must ring somebody. Well, actually, you go onto the thing and it tells you, well, maybe not. Maybe there's a thing you can put on it, and suddenly you save yourself a few bucks, and golly, do you feel good about yourself?
That's exactly right. Yep.
Isn't it?
I'll YouTube that, like how-to videos on YouTube before I call someone, like let's see if I can figure this out. And you feel accomplished when you do, you
You
know?
Well, you've got better words than I have. You're absolutely right. I just feel great when I actually can hang something on a wall and it's not crooked. That's the extent of my DIY. So, so again, the bar is cleared. Everyone's gone home. The knock on the door, dead or alive. You open it up. Who is it? Come in.
Honestly, I was thinking about this one. I think I'm gonna go with Queen Elizabeth II which I'm like, in honor of you, Gary, I figured I'd bring it back there. But it's amazing if you think about all of the like obviously she lived a very long life and
Hmm.
all of the historical events that she was a part of at her level and very ingrained in. I mean, she's got to have stories for days. It would be like opening up a real life history book and hearing that her perspective, for 100 years almost that she was around is would be awesome. Like and in her case, there would probably be a pint and a gin, right? And sitting there and
Probably.
talking
Or a
with
sherry.
Amy
A sherry.
or Sherry. Yes.
I think she was. Yeah, I think that was her tipple. But I thought that when she passed away, was that last year, or the year before? And the historical stuff, how she became queen was due to abdication, I think, and stuff. So she was very young. And the history, she's out on a elephant hunt.
Right.
And this is our lifetime or her lifetime.
Right.
An elephant hunt was cool.
Right. Like
Yeah,
crazy.
crazy to
Yes.
think that she lived through it. And then, and I'm sure she distanced herself from a lot of that type of stuff. But absolutely. And it's a really interesting one, Amy, because probably on these shows, and we've had what, 100 plus of them, when people talk about that particular question, they often say, Oh, I'd love to talk to my granddad or my grandma, because again, maybe when, if and when they were around, you were too busy being cool. But
So
now you get
funny. It was between, I was like, should I go with a personal one, my grandmother? But like, yeah, it would be like going with because it's funny. I'm like, I would want my grandma like right now to then be like, so I've been watching you like this, I've been seeing how your life has been panning out, like,
yeah.
like that type of thing. That would be very, very interesting.
Oh, and you know what? I think that if we pare back all of the first world issues that we have, the same ills, pains, emotional stresses they had for not being able to produce a tangerine orange for Christmas, or a son away at war, or
Right.
whatever it might be. When you break it all down, we're all the same. We worry, we do all these things. It would be very cool, actually.
Yes, totally. Well, it's funny you say that to that point. So we have a kegerator and we went to put in a new keg. Do you know what a kegerator is?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I now know. It's
Yeah, so we went to put in like the new keg and what we got was a little too big and my husband was like, "I know, I'm so frustrated." And I was like, if that is why you're upset about life, like I think we're doing okay. Like I think we're doing good. You're upset that the keg won't fit inside the kegerator. Like it's all
life.
right.
Life is good, but that's the great thing about people who have lived a bit, and have some context for life, is that it's a bit like comedians at the moment. I don't know who your favorite comedian is. My favorite of all time was a guy called Billy Connolly, Scottish guy. Why did I love him? Because he just told us back, social commentated back to us how stupid we are, how
Right.
funny we all are, how we all have the same thoughts. And it allowed us openly to laugh and go, man. And I
Yeah.
think that somehow we're not allowed to laugh at each other at our stupidity anymore, because that's your
Right.
point, is sort of part of what we are.
Yeah.
So you're going to close down the bar, stand up on that keg area there, and you're going to regale a quote to everybody, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Come on.
It's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't, everyone would do it. The hard is what makes it great.
Okay. Yeah, that's
So,
it.
and um
That's
that's
nice.
actually from a movie. It's from A League of Their Own. Mr. Tom Hanks, or Jimmy Dugan as a character that he plays, says it. And I'm an athlete, so not only was I bartender in college, I played volleyball in college as well. So yeah, so that as an athlete, that was a great quote. It's like when you're again I'm in college, I'm working at the bar and I'm practicing and I'm going to college and all this stuff and everything is so hard, but how great is it? Because like working that hard is not an opportunity that everybody gets. Everybody doesn't get a spot behind the bar and everybody doesn't get a spot on the volleyball team. Everybody, so that's what makes it's so great is, how difficult it can be. And then, there's obstacles you're gonna have to overcome as you throughout life, and when you get to the other side, that's what makes it great as well. So
I can see a podcast, Amy the podcast, coming up. Life lessons from a athlete, from a director of marketing, from a mom, from a kegerator. It's wonderful. We could have loads of episodes, but for now, it's been great, and it's been cool, because look at Jack Nicholson. I mean, why or where would it not be cool? Fantastic. Lovely to see you again, and thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks so much, Gary.